Hello and welcome back to the channel. You find us this morning at one of our favourite Aires in Scotland, at Findhorn in Moray, near Inverness. And we've been coming here for years and we've really enjoyed watching the development of this Aire. It used to be just a car park by the sand dunes, and now it's a proper official motorhome Aire. And one of the downsides in the popularisation of an Aire like this is it becomes difficult to book it, and it becomes more and more popular. So I'm delighted to announce this morning that there's another Aire being opened in Findhorn. It's a real special kind of place, and we'll have a wee wander around shortly. But yeah, we stayed here last night in our normal Aire, and tonight we're moving on to the brand new Findhorn Marina Aire. So hope you can join us. The brand new Findhorn Marina Aire is situated overlooking Findhorn Bay, looking right across the bay itself to the Culbin Forest. Now, the Aire is essentially a part of the Marina boatyard, and there are 5 spaces with electric hookup if you want it. The Aire costs £15 a night and an extra £3 for EHU. And for me, I think the big appeal of this Aire is its position and proximity to the Findhorn Bay Beach, and it's only 2 minutes walk to the Captain's Table restaurant and Ice Cream Parlour. The toilet block is a work in progress, but a loo is available with hot water, and very soon there'll be showers and a washing up area as well. The black waste facility is set up and working, and there's a drain for dumping grey waste, and as I mentioned, EHU is available if required. I'll put all the booking arrangements down below, and while I was there I had a good chat with the owner of the Aire, Simon Patterson, who was lavish in his praise for CAMpRA, the campaign for real Aires, and the help he was given in setting up the Aire. So well done again, CAMpRA, you really are doing us proud with all these Aires throughout the country. So what's Findhorn got to offer? Okay, let's follow Gina for a wee walk and find out. We've been coming to Findhorn, oh gosh, longer than I care to remember, and we particularly like coming here in the winter, when at home in the Cairngorms where we live, you know, it tends to get a bit cold and quite often wet, particularly in these more recent years. They've been kind of cold, wet winters. So it's really nice just to take time to drive for a couple of hours and come along here to the Moray Coast and stay at the Aire at Findhorn. We've really enjoyed it. The lovely thing about the Moray Coast is it's apparently got the longest recorded hours of sunshine in the UK, even more than the south of England, believe it or not. So the weather's quite often here when it's, you know, when it's not good elsewhere, like in the Cairngorms. So we keep an eye on the weather forecast. When it's looking good here, we'll nip over, and we just, you know, more than anything else, we just love wandering along this beach. And I think for a mountain person like me, the beach is just total contrast. And as I got older, I've been enjoying beach combing much more than I used to when I was younger. So Findhorn has a wonderful beach. You can wander along the beach, round the corner into Findhorn Bay, which is pretty well protected, and that's kind of where I'm heading now. Just out here, the tide, you can see the tide goes out quite a long way, and when it goes out a long way it leaves these big strands of sand, and it seals beach themselves on these strands. And quite often in a summer's evening, when the tide's out and it's still, you can hear the calls of the seals. And we like to refer it as seal song. It's something very, very evocative, very beautiful. Kind of reminds you of the old stories of the Selkies, the seal people who would come ashore, leave their seal skin on the beach and take the form of a human being. And quite often they were young men, they'd go and find a young woman and take her back to sea. So the story goes. According to Visit Scotland, Findhorn was once an important commercial and fishing port that had a thriving shipbuilding industry with strong trading links with Scandinavia. The village itself is focused around the bay, and that's where you'll find the popular water sports facilities, the Captain's Table restaurant and cafe, and the hugely popular Ice Cream Parlour. This walk along the seafront or the bay front is always a real delight, passing the small harbour and all these people enjoying the protected waters of the bay in sailing boats, paddle boats or kayaks. You can also visit the small but fascinating Findhorn Heritage Centre, where you can hear about underground chambers, the history of local salmon fishing and the history of the area from prehistoric times to the present day. The village of Findhorn is probably best known for the Ecovillage, sometimes known as the Findhorn Foundation. Ginny and I come here fairly often, mostly to enjoy folk music gigs in the wonderful venue of the Universal Hall. This superb building in its magic setting of gardens, woodlands and of course wildlife. It's a fabulous place and a great inspiring venue for concerts. The foundation itself was set up in the 60s when Peter and Aileen Caddy and Dorothy McLean moved here, and garnering their kind of unorthodox faith and spirituality created a garden that stunned the horticulture world. Apparently £40 cabbages were not uncommon. The tiny community soon grew, attracting folk from all around the world, all committed to their spiritual path and expanding the garden in harmony with nature. Eventually a formal spiritual curriculum was created. Courses were offered in things like yoga and meditation, and many members of the community built their own eco-houses, many of which are quite fantastic.
There's still a strong community feel to the Ecovillage, and the local shop is well worth a wander through. There's a massive collection of books on faith, spirituality and the natural world. A lot of craft work, lots of healthy foodstuffs, mostly geared towards vegans and vegetarians as you might expect, and shelves full of essential oils and natural health products. So there you have it, Findhorn and its fascinating eco-village. There's also a large campsite here, and of course the 2 campervan Aires. But before we go home, there's something that I'm very keen to show you.
A number of years ago, Gina and I hiked the John Muir Trail in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. In fact, we loved it so much that we did it twice. And on the second occasion, we'd just come down from the 11,000 foot Muir Pass when we smelt smoke. A few minutes later, we were met by a National Park ranger who told us a wildfire was burning nearby, probably caused by lightning strike, and we'd have to take a 3 to 4 day diversion involving 2 very high passes and a bus ride in between before we could continue. Now, he obviously realised we weren't really up for that idea, so he kind of relented. After a bit of conversation, he relented and suggested we camp where we were for the night, and if the fire died down during the night, he would ask the fire patrol team if they would escort us through the affected areas. And that's what happened. The wind abated during the night, the fire died down considerably, and it was felt we could, safely walk on through with the fire patrol guys. And what an amazing experience that turned out to be.
Here's a few photographs of that kind of amazing walk.
The fire patrol fellows explained to us that such fires were not necessarily seen as a bad thing, provided no one was hurt or there was no property damage. They explained that there was always a build-up of old growth and dead timber, and the occasional wildfire was nature's way of cleaning it all out, giving light and space for new plants and trees to grow. Provided there was no threat to life or property, these fires were usually left to burn themselves out, and in a surprisingly short time, new growth would take over. Now, despite their assurances, it felt very strange, very odd to walk over a charred trail, seeing flames still licking the blackened stumps of trees, branches and even green foliage. Coping with the smoke was the biggest issue, and we were soon relieved to climb out of the forest up a long series of man-made steps known as the Golden Staircase, and into fresh, smoke-free air. And I was kind of reminded of that experience as I drove here on the Dava Moor today on our way home from Findhorn. Because a few weeks ago, Scotland's biggest ever wildfire was burning here, affecting some 29,500 acres of the Dava Moor, an area of largely grouse moor and some farmland, some sheep grazing. Thankfully, no one was injured and no property was damaged, but it was a kind of wake-up call in these climate change times. The fire service is still investigating the cause of the fire, but they're pretty certain it wasn't natural. That is a lightning strike, which is the usual cause of wind strikes in dry regions like the Sierra Nevada mountains of California I was talking about. No one is yet suggesting it was a campfire or a barbecue or a fag end thrown from a car, but these are all possible causes and reminders for all of us to take extra care in these very dry weather conditions we've been experiencing this summer. Now, I don't want to use this platform to preach about the dangers of fire. You know, man has been using campfires since time immemorial, and backpackers in areas much drier and more prone to wildfires than here in Scotland seem to manage it without setting fire to the place. But when the ground and the vegetation is tinder dry, as it is at the moment, then it's worth thinking twice about lighting a fire or using a disposable barbecue, or even one of these popular, metal fire pits that some campervans enjoy using. And if you're a smoker, please don't throw your fag end out of the car window. That's just asking for trouble. But I promised I wasn't going to preach. I just ask you as a camper, a backpacker or a campervan, a motorhome owner, please be careful with fire. Please be very, very careful. And as I look around here, my heart kind of sinks at all that blackened landscape. But I know that nature is strong. Nature is strong and resilient, and it won't be long before new growth takes over. In fact, it's happening already. Just a couple of weeks since the fire raged here. It's not the end of the world. Dava will recover very quickly. But if it signals some sort of warning of what we might expect in the future and encourages us to think a bit more carefully about fires and open flames in the outdoors, then it might just have been worth it. And of course, a huge thanks to the firemen and women, all these firefighters and all these state workers and others who came together to fight the fires. See, there were multiple fires. It was, by all accounts, a remarkable display of community solidarity, and everyone involved should be congratulated. They did a fantastic job. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our little tour of Findhorn and the new Aire at the Findhorn Marina. And I apologise for finishing on a kind of bleak note with this fire. It all looks a wee bit black and grim at the moment. But nature will recover, and that's the important note to finish on. Nature is in control and will recolonise this Dava Moor once again. And I look forward to seeing it flourish just as it did before. If you've enjoyed this video, please think about subscribing to the channel and please, give us a like, mate, down below there. Enjoy your campervan, enjoy your outdoors, and as they used to say on that old New York Police Department television series, Hill Street Blues, be careful out there. See you next time. Bye-bye.